we're now going to touch on some bank reports. So lots of these are just information. So you've got your bank transfer summary and you can run a report on your bank transfers. Just remember, as far as bank transfers are concerned, this is that movement of money. So if you've got a linked current and deposit account that always tops up every day, you can obviously group those together, and do make sure that you mirror what's happening within your bank accounts within Scribe. Equally, if you have petty cash and you withdraw money from your deposit account with a check or with a debit card to take that money out, that's not going to be entered into your cash book as a payment and a receipt. It's going to be a transfer of money. It's a transfer from the current account into the petty cash tin, and vice versa. We always want to make sure that we add the bank transfers rather than adding them as transactions. We don't want to show them as payments and receipts, because anything that we enter into our cash book as a payment or a receipt will increase our AGAR. So if we pop in that receipt because we've received that money from our deposit account into our current, it's going to increase our box 3, and we don't want to do that. So make sure that if you do have that movement of money, that you are indeed adding it as a bank transfer. And that's just a report to show you those. You've got your cash book report, so nice one, lists all of the transactions from all of your bank accounts from the 1st of April. So that's that nice round box 8 figure that you've got on your AGAR that's showing there. And then you've literally got all of your ins and outs going through right till you get to the end, which will show you that sort of current cash book value or that current box 8 value. So a nice one there for you to be able to see everything within it. Then the accounts any bank report. So that's going to be the main one that you're using within the bank reports menu, because this is effectively your Scribe bank statement. So using the filter in the top right hand corner, you choose your bank account. So if I choose my current account, we've got a report there. It's a lovely report. It gives you that opening cash book position. So do remember, all of those balances appear under your setup and bank balances, but that is that cash book position. So if you have got unpresented item from the previous year, it's already taking that into consideration. And then you've got a list. You've got a list of all of your transactions, what the transaction date is, and obviously then the date that you cashed it through when you did your bank reconciliations. As we scroll down to the very bottom of the report, it also tells us what's the current cash book position, but it will also tell us what the bank statement should show. So anything that hasn't yet been cashed, you'll have a difference between the cash book balance and what the bank statement is going to show. Filter option, again, in that top right hand corner, really valuable. You can order this report by voucher date. So that's your transaction date, so the date that you entered in your transaction for payment. Or you can order it by cash date. Cash date obviously being the most popular one, because if you're going to run it by cash date, hopefully then that's showing you them all in order by the bank statement that you've got. So I've got April's at the top, seeing that running total. I can then see what I've got for the end of April just by going to the end of April and coming into May. And if that's the last one in April, that should be the bank statement balance that I've got, less any unpresented items, of course, that's displaying on there. If you filter this report, if you're using it for a bank reconciliation error, you can filter it by individual months. So I just need to go back because I was in at 2023. So if I just take one individual month here and go to the end of October, you'll be able to see just that month's transactions, which should indeed match up with the bank statement. You'll notice that when you do select a date, there's no running total, okay? You can't have a running total of a bank account if you don't know what the opening cash book position was. But this is really just useful for when you do have those bank rec errors and you just want to compare that 1 month of bank statement values to the previous statement because you've got an error and something isn't reconciling properly. So that's your accounts any bank, that sort of bank statement or Scribe bank statement report. Final one in the bank reports is your bank summary. So that gives you that snapshot view, that current cash book position, as I said, for all of your accounts. Very rarely use this report, but I certainly run it for every council when I'm looking into their bank recs, just to make sure again that these values are what you're expecting them to be. Okay, so when you're doing those individual bank reconciliations, when you get to the end of the month and you're popping in that bank statement value, you should get a value of 0 at the end when you've done your reconcile banks. And certainly if you haven't been looking at that and you just run the reconcile all banks, even though A equals B checks out okay, if you haven't been doing those bank transfers, you might see some very strange values with negatives displaying here. So if you have got something that doesn't look quite right, then obviously that's probably highlighting that you haven't been using those bank transfers. So that's your bank reports.